Well, we're on the site of the Powell dealerships at Galvin Parkway and McDowell Road, which is sort of the east end of the McDowell Road corridor that's been in the news so much. These dealerships were abandoned months ago and shifted to other locations, and there was a rezoning on this site, high-density residential rezoning that was approved recently, and none of the construction has begun on the site yet. But you can see this is a fairly large site. They were, by modern standards, fairly small dealerships, but they struggled to survive here, and the sort of the new model of automobile sales is to be located on major thoroughfares, and McDowell Road just doesn't have enough volume to support that new model now, which is one of the reasons that we've had a decline along McDowell Road, a decline in automobile dealerships. As we go out of the site here, we're coming out onto McDowell Road. We're facing south. McDowell Road obviously runs east and west and was the main thoroughfare between downtown Phoenix and downtown Scottsdale back in the heyday before the construction of the freeways. As you look to the right, we're looking west toward the Papago Buttes. There's been a lot of discussion lately about trying to connect the Papago Buttes, which are actually in the city of Phoenix, in with the McDowell Road corridor and create some sort of unified connectivity here, including a proposal to build at taxpayer expense the Scottsdale equivalent of the Highline Trail in New York. It's a very expensive proposition. I believe it would be very problematic, particularly from a funding perspective, and it's probably not something that the taxpayers are willing to entertain at this time. We're turning east now on McDowell Road, and you can see the Superstition Mountains in the distance as we come up to the Chapman Dodge dealership on the south side of McDowell Road. Been here for a long time. Got a Hyundai dealership as well. This was Scott Toyota to our left. They had this large facility here, and a couple of other dealerships. The Honda motorcycle dealership is to our right. This is actually a new dealership on the south side here at 68th Street. This is called Certified Benz and Beamer, which somewhat counteracts the claim that a car dealership can't survive on McDowell Road in South Scottsdale. Obviously, they feel like it's a good location for them. And with the Maserati and Ferrari dealership on the southeast corner of 68th Street and McDowell Road, it's been here for many years, apparently doing well. I don't know if they're necessarily thriving in this economy, but they're surviving. So on the north side of McDowell to our left, actually I misspoke, this was Scott Toyota here on the northeast corner of 68th Street and McDowell Road. And then the Nissan dealership was just beyond that, also is abandoned at this point. One of the problems with these properties is that they're fairly shallow. They don't go back very far from McDowell Road, and so you can't really do a lot here. You don't have a lot of depth in the properties to do a lot, build big things here, because you're getting into single-family, single-story neighborhoods on either side beyond these dealership properties. And then as we're coming down here to Papago Plaza on the right side, we've got the Chapman Ford dealership here on the left side. It's still here and barely doing well, surviving. And then beyond Papago Plaza on the southeast corner of Scottsdale Road and McDowell, we have the ASU SkySong project. It is essentially a big commercial office complex, which is a bit problematic from a standpoint of flooding the market with commercial office space down here. So we sort of, and we have a fairly high commercial office vacancy rate in Scottsdale and South Scottsdale in particular, and supply and demand would dictate that a bunch of extra commercial office space doesn't help that a lot. But there are other problems that we've talked about previously with that. To the left side, these properties belong to Ray Cordy Chevrolet, still belong to Virginia Cordy, and then we get into some smaller businesses as we move away from the Skysong area. The Mark Taylor apartment project is going to be here on the southeast corner of 74th Street and McDowell. They've got hurricane fencing up, and they've begun some excavation there. This was the site of the old Ashes, South Scottsdale Ashes, and then we're coming up to Miller, just beyond Miller, which would kind of be, I think, considered to be the terminus of the corridor area per se, is the Indian Bend Wash Greenbelt, which runs the length of South Scottsdale north to south, and nice little lake. And it would be nice to be able to connect this in, perhaps with Papago Buttes to the west, but it's also a fairly expensive proposition to do it the way it's been proposed, and I'm not sure that the city can afford to do that right now. As we're approaching Hayden Road here, we've got our big Lowe's, which is really our big South Scottsdale lumberyard type hardware store, and then crossing Hayden, we're coming into the area where Motorola is located on the south side of McDowell Road, east of Hayden. Motorola obviously is one of the few big industrial concerns that we have in Scottsdale. Scottsdale isn't really known for its industrial activity, but we've got some here, and we've got a little bit up in the Scottsdale Air Park. Beyond this, we've got a fair inventory of older neighborhoods, neighborhoods from the 60s and 70s, some build out into the 80s. And then at the far end of the McDowell corridor here, we've got the Loop 101 freeway, and which actually is located on the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community land.